I'm Marcus, and my friend Elena and I thought a quiet day fishing at Silver Pine Lake would be relaxing. We never expected the fog to hide something alive beneath the water, something that was watching us, waiting, and hungry for more than just our fear. I always thought fishing was supposed to be peaceful, the kind of quiet that seeps into your bones and makes the world feel distant, like nothing else exists but you, the water, and the rhythm of casting and reeling. That morning, I decided to visit a remote lake my uncle had mentioned once, years ago. It wasn't on any tourist map, and the drive alone made me uneasy. The road was narrow, twisting through dense forest, and a low, heavy fog clung to the trees like a warning I didn't understand. I parked by the edge of the water, the car crunching softly against the gravel, and dragged my small, weathered boat toward the lake. The air smelled damp, earthy and faintly metallic, as if the ground itself carried a secret. Pushing off from the shore, the lake stretched out before me like a silver-gray mirror. Not a single ripple disturbed its surface, and the fog hung over it like a thick, suffocating blanket. The forest on the far side was barely visible, ghostly silhouettes of trees standing like silent sentinels. I paddled to my usual fishing spot, the sound of the oars slicing through the water deafening in the eerie silence. That's when I saw it. A boat, floating in the middle of the lake. It looked old, battered, half-sunken, and completely abandoned. My heart raced. Who would leave a boat here? The air felt heavier, almost charged, and a chill ran down my spine. I told myself it was nothing, just an old relic left behind and forgotten. I set my gear carefully, placing my line in the water. The quiet pressed in on me, the kind of silence that seems to listen. My bobber drifted, still and empty, and I tried to focus on the rhythm, the gentle rocking of the boat. But then something changed. I felt a tug, not the usual playful nibble of a fish, but something heavier, deliberate. My hand went to the rod, gripping it tightly, but the resistance felt wrong. Not a fish, not anything I had ever caught before. I leaned over the edge of the boat, peering into the dark water, and that's when I saw them. Eyes. Just two black, unblinking eyes staring straight at me from beneath the surface. They weren't large, but they held an intelligence that made my stomach knot. I froze, unable to move, unable to breathe, as the eyes seemed to study me, measuring me. Then, just as suddenly, they disappeared, leaving only the rippling water and my pounding heart. I tried to shake it off, blaming shadows, fog, or imagination. But the feeling lingered, the sense that I was being watched, that the lake was not what it seemed. The quiet of the morning, the gentle lapping of water against the boat, all felt wrong now. There was something in the depths, something patient, something waiting. And when I glanced toward the half-sunken rowboat again, I could have sworn it had shifted, as if it had moved closer to me. I gripped my rod tighter, a shiver running down my spine, knowing that what I had seen was no ordinary fish. The water around me seemed to ripple in unnatural ways, and the fog pressed closer, curling around the boat like fingers. I wasn't alone, not really. Something was beneath me, watching, waiting. And I realized with a cold, sinking certainty that this day on the lake, what I thought would be peaceful, relaxing, ordinary, had already begun to turn into a nightmare. I tried to convince myself that what I had seen was a trick of the fog, a shadow moving in the water, nothing more. But as I cast my line again, focusing on the familiar rhythm of baiting and waiting, the lake no longer felt peaceful. Every splash, every tiny ripple seemed deliberate, echoing unnaturally across the still water. My bobber floated idly, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something was circling beneath it, studying me. The morning fog thickened, wrapping around the boat like a wet, suffocating shroud, and the air smelled damp, sharp, and metallic. My heartbeat thudded in my ears, loud and insistent. I tried to concentrate on the gentle rocking of the boat, the familiar pull of the water, but it was impossible. Something was down there, moving beneath the surface in ways that no fish could manage. Shadows twisted beneath the boat, shifting in and out of sight. I could see faint outlines brushing against the hull, not strong or fast, but deliberate, testing the boundaries of the boat. My stomach churned as the realization hit me. I was not alone, not in any sense I could understand. The smell hit me next. It was faint at first, a tang of decay mixed with iron, but it grew stronger, suffocating. My stomach tightened, my throat dry. I leaned over the side to see what was causing it and froze. Just beneath the water's surface, faint gray shapes moved. Fingers, or something like fingers, trailing along the underside of the boat, lingering too long, lingering with intent. I jerked back, heart hammering, but curiosity and dread held me in place. Whatever it was, it knew I was watching, and the awareness in those movements made the hair on my arms stand on end. Then I saw movement on the far shore, or thought I did. A figure, hunched, almost human but wrong in shape, emerged briefly from the mist. Its reflection shimmered in the water before disappearing entirely, leaving no trace but the ripple. I tried to call out, but the sound caught in my throat. My boat rocked gently, but I felt a heavier, unnatural force pressing against it from below. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, to paddle back, to escape. But when I reached for the oars, it felt as though the water itself resisted me. Each stroke was slower, heavier, like wading through molasses. The ripples around the boat grew larger, as if something enormous was moving beneath, circling, observing. My mind raced with impossible thoughts. Was it human? Not human? Alive? Dead? The questions offered no comfort. Suddenly, the half-sunken rowboat from earlier surfaced fully, gliding silently through the fog toward me. Its presence was impossible, its movement deliberate, controlled. A pale, faceless figure sat in it, rowing with slow, unnatural strokes. My heart sank. Whatever had been watching me had now come closer, closer than I had imagined possible. And then I realized the most terrifying detail. The water around my boat rippled in unnatural concentric circles, spreading outward as if the lake itself were alive, responding to my presence. Beneath me, faint shadows moved, countless and patient, all waiting for the moment I would panic. I clutched my rod. My only comfort, knowing it wouldn't protect me. The faceless figure in the rowboat drew nearer, and the shadows beneath the surface shifted and coalesced. The lake was no longer a safe place, no longer a retreat from the world. It was something else entirely, patient, intelligent, and hungry. And in that moment, I understood that the nightmare had only just begun. Panic gnawed at my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm, telling myself there must be a rational explanation. Fog can play tricks, shadows can shift, water can reflect strange shapes, but no amount of reasoning could erase the terror that clawed at me from beneath the boat. I paddled toward the shore, each stroke heavier than the last, as if the water itself were resisting me, holding me back. Every ripple seemed purposeful, deliberate, almost alive, and my eyes darted constantly to the foggy distance, searching for anything familiar. Then I felt it again, the tug. Stronger this time, more deliberate, as though whatever was beneath the lake knew exactly how to pull, how to test me. My heart skipped a beat as I jerked the rod. The resistance was unlike anything I had ever felt. It wasn't a fish, not even close. My hands trembled as I pulled, the line straining and groaning under an unseen weight. Finally, something broke the surface. I recoiled in horror. It wasn't a fish at all. Its skin was slimy, mottled gray, slick with water and rot. Its body twitched unnaturally, jerking in ways no living creature should. Its eyes, small, black, and intelligent, stared at me with a horrible awareness, tracking my every movement. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. The thing seemed to leer at me, aware of my fear, feeding on it, and I realized that I had caught more than I could ever understand. In shock, I dropped it back into the lake, The moment it hit the water, the surface erupted. Shapes moved everywhere, countless forms stirring beneath me, eyes reflecting faint light from the fog. I could feel them pushing, circling, testing my presence. My boat tipped violently, as if slammed from below, throwing me against the edge. Water splashed over me, cold and heavy, seeping into my clothes, chilling me to the bone. I scrambled to right the boat, heart hammering, lungs burning from the exertion. But the lake was no longer mine. Each movement was met with resistance. Each paddle stroke met with pressure from something unseen. Shadows shifted beneath the water, enormous and impossible, their forms only partly revealed in fleeting glimpses. There was intelligence here, a patient, deliberate malice. I looked over the edge, trying to gauge how many, how big, how close. But the fog distorted everything. Shapes flickered in and out, arms or tentacles or branches, I couldn't tell. And then I realized with a sudden sickening clarity that they were all aware of me. They weren't just moving randomly, they were coordinating, waiting for the right moment. The half-sunken rowboat appeared again, closer now, gliding silently through the fog. The faceless figure remained seated, still, motionless, watching me. A sense of inevitability pressed down on me, suffocating and absolute. I knew I could not escape the lake on my own. The water beneath me shifted again, enormous hands, or something like hands, pushing against the hull, threatening to tip me over entirely. I clutched the edge of the boat, every muscle trembling as the water surged beneath me. The fog seemed to pulse, thickening, closing in, carrying whispers I could almost understand. My chest burned, my mind screamed, and I realized the horrifying truth. Whatever had been beneath the surface was no mere animal. It was patient, intelligent, and it had marked me. And now, I had no choice but to confront it, whether I wanted to or not. I had no choice but to abandon the boat. Every fiber of my being screamed that I had to get to land, that the lake itself was no longer safe. My heart hammered in my chest as I plunged into the icy water, the sudden cold stealing my breath. Each stroke was a battle, the water thick and heavy, resisting me as though it had weight beyond its natural density. Shadows moved beneath me, larger and slower than any fish, brushing against my legs, my arms, testing, taunting, and I fought to keep from screaming. The shore felt impossibly far, every stroke yielding only a fraction of progress. My lungs burned, my muscles ached, but fear made me move faster than I thought possible. The mud and reeds at the edge of the bank tore at my hands as I pulled myself out, trembling uncontrollably. I collapsed onto the wet ground, gasping, soaked to the bone, heart hammering like a drum in the foggy silence. For a moment I thought I was safe. I thought the danger had stayed in the water, but it hadn't. The air smelled foul, thick with the metallic tang of decay, and my eyes caught movement on the water's surface. Shadows flickered where the ripples met the shore, and the soft, wet splashes came from all around me, yet no one was visible. I tried to calm myself, telling myself it was just my imagination, the fog playing tricks. But instinct screamed otherwise. Then I saw the footprints, wet, narrow, long, clawed at the tips. They weren't human, yet they led directly from the water to where I crouched. My stomach sank. A cold, twisting knot of terror forming as I realized I was being stalked, observed, hunted. I tried to stand, tried to move, but my legs felt like lead. The fog pressed closer, curling around me, wrapping me in its damp, suffocating embrace. And then I heard it. A low, guttural sound, a mixture of growl and whisper, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. My skin prickled with terror. The sound was patient, deliberate, and it carried a weight of intelligence, a sense that something had been waiting for this exact moment. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. Fear had frozen me in place, and whatever was in the lake knew it. The surface of the water bulged and shifted unnaturally, ripples expanding outward like the beating of a pulse. Something enormous rose slowly from the depths, taller than any man, arms stretching outward in impossible angles. Its face, or what should have been a face, was a blank, featureless void, yet I could feel its awareness, its hunger, its patience. My mind screamed to flee, but every instinct told me I was already too late. I took a step back, tripping over mud and reeds, and the clawed footprints multiplied as if the shore itself had come alive. The fog thickened, swallowing my surroundings, disorienting me completely. The whispers grew louder, sharper, like the voices of countless unseen entities converging on me. I realized with a cold, sinking dread that I had never left the lake. The water, the fog, the shadows. They were all part of it. And whatever I had been running toward was not salvation. It was the next stage of a nightmare I could not escape. I don't remember how long I floated before I woke up. The lake had changed. The fog was thicker now, rolling across the water like a living thing, and the shore, the trees, even the sky seemed distorted, unrecognizable. My boat, if it could even be called a boat anymore, drifted aimlessly, rocking gently on a surface that looked infinite, stretching endlessly in every direction. I held my rod tightly, but there was no line, no hook, nothing familiar at all. The sense of dread that had been gnawing at me for hours now expanded to fill every thought. I scanned the water desperately, hoping for some sign of life, some reassurance that I was alone, that I was still in the world I knew. But I wasn't. Shapes moved beneath the surface, countless forms shifting and swirling in the murky depths. Eyes glinted faintly in the fog, unblinking, intelligent, patient. They surrounded me now, circling, waiting, as if the lake had claimed me entirely. My stomach twisted at the thought of what had been following me all along, patient, observing, ensuring that escape was impossible. I tried to speak, to scream, but no sound came. My own reflection mocked me, distorted and unnatural. My features elongated, twisted, and then I realized it wasn't my face staring back at me. It was something else, something that had worn my skin as a mask. Panic surged, paralyzing me as I realized that whatever had pulled me under, whatever had been circling me, was no longer just below the surface. It was here, around me, part of me, shaping reality itself. Then I saw it. A ripple moving across the boat, slow and deliberate. Something pressed its hand, impossibly large and pale, against the wood. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. As I watched the water around me ripple outward in unnatural patterns. The shapes beneath the surface pressed closer, their forms coalescing into something enormous, humanoid, yet utterly alien. The faceless figure from the rowboat drifted toward me again, silent, patient, as though the lake itself were speaking through it. The whispers started, low, unintelligible, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. I could feel them inside my head, pressing against my thoughts, probing, testing, insinuating themselves into my fear. The shapes beneath me moved in perfect coordination, guiding the water, the fog, the air itself, creating a world that had no rules, no escape. I realized with horrifying clarity that I was no longer in the world I had entered that morning. The lake had become a trap, a living, conscious prison designed to consume me slowly. And then the final detail revealed itself, and it froze my blood. The water lapped against the boat, leaving a faint mark, a handprint. Not my handprint, and not human. Long fingers, tapered, clawed. It was as if something had reached up from the depths, touching me gently, claiming me, letting me know it had been here all along. The ripples faded, but the sense of being watched, followed, hunted, did not. I was trapped, alone, and yet I wasn't. Somewhere in the infinite gray of the lake, I could feel it waiting, patient as only something eternal and intelligent could be. I realized then that the nightmare wasn't over. It had only just begun, and no one, no rescue, no shore, no dawn, would ever reach me.